When you think of modern China, what comes to mind? Maybe it's the towering skyscrapers of Shanghai or the immense scale of its manufacturing. But for me, honestly, one of the most astonishing symbols of its progress is something that moves. It moves very, very fast. I'm talking about the high-speed bullet trains, or as they are known in China, the gaoti. These sleek, almost silent machines glide across the landscape, connecting vast cities at speeds that were once the stuff of science fiction. They represent more than just a way to get from point A to point B. They are a physical manifestation of a nation's ambition, a testament to incredible engineering, and a story of a country that decided to completely revolutionize how its people travel across its enormous landmass. The story of these trains isn't just about nuts, bolts, and kilowatts. It's a human story. It's about a country looking at its future and realizing that the old ways simply wouldn't do anymore. Imagine trying to run a modern, hyper-connected economy using a railway system that belongs in a museum. That was the challenge. The decision to build this network was a monumental gamble, a project of such scale and complexity that it's hard to wrap your head around. It involved looking at what other countries had done, learning from them, and then rather ambitiously deciding to do it even better. This journey through time will explore how China went from having crowded, slow trains to operating the world's most extensive and advanced high-speed rail network. This transformation didn't happen overnight, of course. It was a carefully planned, step-by-step process that began with a simple but powerful idea. China needed to move its people more efficiently. This need was born out of economic growth, a rising population, and the desire to bring the country closer together. The bullet trains became the answer. They are shining examples of what can be achieved when a nation puts its mind to something. They are not just a mode of transport. They are a symbol of national pride and a powerful engine for economic and social change. So, let's get on board and take a ride through the remarkable history of China's bullet trains, starting from a time when things were very different. Before we marvel at the futuristic trains of today, we must first understand the past. We need to go back a few decades to a time when traveling by train in China was an entirely different experience. It was a time of immense challenge, where the railway system was struggling to keep up with the country's rapid development. The trains were slow, the carriages were packed, and the journeys were long and often grueling. This period of difficulty was the crucial starting point, the very reason why the government knew that a dramatic change was necessary. It was out of this struggle that the dream of a high-speed railway was born, setting the stage for one of the greatest engineering stories of our time. Let's rewind the clock to the 1980s and 1990s. China was waking up, economically speaking. Factories were opening, cities were growing, and people were on the move like never before. But there was a problem, a big one. The railway system, the backbone of the country's transport, was old. It was a network of tracks and trains designed for a different era, and it was groaning under the pressure of 1 billion people. Getting a train ticket during major holidays like the Spring Festival was like winning the lottery. People would queue for days, and the trains themselves were so crowded that finding a place to stand, let alone sit, was a real achievement. It was a system at its breaking point. The trains of that era were affectionately known as green trains because of their distinctive dark green paint. They were slow, lumbering beasts. A journey that now takes a few hours could easily take a full day or even longer. For example, traveling from Beijing to Shanghai, a distance of about 1,300 kilometers, was an overnight marathon that could last 15 hours or more. The average speed was often less than 100 kilometers per hour, which, by today's standards, is practically stationary. This wasn't just an inconvenience for passengers, it was a major bottleneck for the economy. Goods couldn't be transported quickly, and business travel was a time-consuming affair, holding back the pace of development. The real issue was capacity. The existing lines were shared by both slow passenger trains and even slower freight trains, creating a logistical nightmare. The network simply couldn't handle the explosive growth in demand. The government knew that as the economy continued to expand, this problem would only get worse. A modern nation couldn't be built on a railway system that was struggling to cope with the present, let alone the future. This wasn't just about comfort, it was about the fundamental ability of the country to function and grow. The old green trains had served their purpose, but their time was coming to an end. This period of struggle was crucial. It created a powerful sense of urgency within the government and among the public. Everyone understood that something had to be done. The experience of enduring long, uncomfortable journeys forged a collective desire for a better, faster, and more reliable way to travel. This widespread demand for change provided the political will needed to embark on one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in human history. The memory of those slow, crowded green trains is what makes the sleek, silent bullet trains of today seem all the more miraculous. It was time for a revolution on the rails. Faced with an overburdened railway system, the Chinese government did what it does best. It thought big, very big. Instead of just making small improvements to the existing network, the leaders envisioned a complete overhaul. They didn't just want faster trains, they wanted a state-of-the-art, high-speed rail network that would be the envy of the world. This wasn't merely a transport policy, it was a grand strategic decision. The goal was to build a system that would shrink the vast distances of China, tying the country together in a way that had never been possible before. It was about creating economic corridors, boosting regional development, and projecting an image of a modern, technologically advanced nation. The vision was clear. A high-speed rail system would be a powerful engine for economic growth. By connecting major economic hubs with fast, reliable transport, businesses could operate more efficiently. It would make it easier for people to work in one city and live in another, spreading prosperity beyond the traditional coastal megacities. Furthermore, it would free up the old railway lines for freight transport, which was just as critical for the country's manufacturing-based economy. The government saw high-speed rail as a long-term investment that would pay dividends for decades to come, transforming the economic geography of the entire country. It was a bold and incredibly expensive plan. This grand plan was officially put into motion in the early 2000s with the mid to long-term railway network plan. This document laid out an ambitious blueprint for a grid of high-speed lines crisscrossing the country, consisting of 4 north-south lines and 4 east-west lines. It was a declaration of intent, a signal to the world that China was serious about becoming a leader in high-speed rail technology. The government committed enormous financial resources and mobilized its state-owned enterprises to make this vision a reality. The project was given top national priority, and the race to build the network began in earnest. The ambition was not just to build a lot of tracks, but to build the best. The government set high standards for speed, safety, and comfort. The goal was to create a system that could operate at speeds of 350 kilometers per hour or more, putting it on par with, or even ahead of, established players like Japan's Shinkansen and France's TGV. This dream was about more than just catching up. It was about leapfrogging the competition. It was a statement that China was no longer just a follower in technology, but was ready to become a leader and an innovator on the global stage. The high-speed dream was taking shape. China knew it couldn't build the world's best high-speed rail network from scratch, at least not right away. So, it adopted a very clever strategy: learn from the best. In the early 2000s, China embarked on a massive technology transfer program. It invited established international rail giants from Japan, Germany, France, and Canada, companies like Kawasaki, Siemens, and Alstom, to participate in the project. The deal was simple. If you want access to China's massive market, you have to share your technology and help build the trains locally. It was a controversial approach, but it allowed China to rapidly acquire decades of research and development from the pioneers of high-speed rail. This phase was often described as trading market for technology. Chinese engineers worked side by side with their foreign counterparts, absorbing everything they could about train design, signal systems, and track construction. They didn't just copy the designs, they studied them, took them apart, and understood the principles behind them. The first generation of Chinese bullet trains, the CRH, China Railway High-Speed Series, were based on these foreign platforms. For example, The CRH-2 was derived from the Japanese Shinkansen E2 series, while the CRH-3 was based on the Siemens Velaro platform from Germany. It was like a global university of railway engineering, all happening on Chinese soil. But the story doesn't end with imitation. The ultimate goal was always to create their own technology. After mastering the imported designs, Chinese engineers began the crucial process of innovation. They started to modify and improve upon the original platforms, adapting them to China's unique geography and climate, which ranges from the freezing winters of the northeast to the tropical heat of the south. They developed new materials, improved the aerodynamics, and enhanced the power systems. This process of digestion, absorption, and re-innovation was key to China's success. It allowed them to move from being a student to becoming a master in a remarkably short period. This learning and innovation cycle eventually led to the development of trains that were entirely of China's own design. By combining the best features from different foreign technologies and adding their own breakthroughs, they created a new generation of bullet trains. This culminated in the magnificent Fuxing series, which we'll discuss later. This journey from being a technology importer to a technology creator is a source of immense national pride. It demonstrates a strategic, patient, and ultimately successful approach to industrial development, proving that China could not only build a high-speed network, but also master the core technology behind it. All the planning, learning, and building came to a head in the summer of 2008. Just days before the opening of the Beijing Olympic Games, China unveiled its first true high-speed rail line, the Beijing-Tianjin Intercity Railway. This was the moment of truth. The world was watching, and China delivered in spectacular fashion. The new line connected the capital city, Beijing, with the neighboring port city of Tianjin, covering a distance of 117 kilometers. What was once a journey of over an hour was suddenly slashed to just 30 minutes. It was a revolution in regional travel, and honestly, it felt like stepping into the future. The impact was immediate and profound. For the first time, people in China could experience what it was like to travel at 350 kilometers per hour. The trains were smooth, quiet, and astonishingly fast. Passengers would watch the digital speedometer inside the carriage tick upwards, feeling a sense of awe as the landscape blurred past the window. The Beijing-Tianjin line wasn't just a convenience, it was a powerful statement. It showcased China's technological prowess to the millions of international visitors who had arrived for the Olympics. It was a perfect piece of national branding, presenting an image of a modern, efficient, and forward-looking country. The success of this first line was a huge confidence booster. It proved that the technology worked and that the massive investment was worthwhile. It created a one-hour economic circle between the two cities, effectively merging them into a single metropolitan area. People could now live in the more affordable city of Tianjin and commute to work in Beijing with ease. Businesses flourished as the two cities became more closely integrated. The line became a model for what high-speed rail could achieve, demonstrating its potential to reshape urban geography and stimulate economic activity. It was a resounding success that really silenced many of the project's critics. More importantly, the Beijing-Tianjin line acted as a catalyst for the nationwide expansion that was to follow. It provided invaluable operational experience and served as a training ground for the engineers, staff, and managers who would go on to build and run the rest of the network. The lessons learned on this relatively short stretch of track were applied to the much larger and more complex projects that lay ahead. It was the first domino to fall, setting off a chain reaction of construction that would, in just a decade, create the largest high-speed rail network on the planet. The journey had truly begun. After the triumphant launch of the Beijing-Tianjin line, China's high-speed rail project went into overdrive. The decade that followed 2008 saw an unprecedented construction boom, a frenzy of track laying that, honestly, just dwarfed any other infrastructure project in the world. The goal was to connect all of China's major provincial capitals and economic zones. The map of the country began to be redrawn, not with political boundaries, but with the sleek, fast lines of the Gauti network. Cities that were once separated by long and arduous journeys were suddenly brought within just a few hours of each other. It was as if the country was shrinking before people's eyes. The expansion was methodical and relentless. Engineers and construction workers fanned out across the country, tackling immense geographical challenges. They built thousands of bridges to span wide rivers like the Yangtze and the Yellow River. They drilled tens of thousands of tunnels to cut through rugged mountain ranges. One of the key goals was to connect the prosperous coastal cities with the less developed inland regions. Lines were pushed out from Beijing and Shanghai towards cities like Chengdu in the west, Guangzhou in the south, and Harbin in the far northeast. Each new line that opened was a major event, celebrated as another step towards a more connected and unified nation. This rapid expansion created a true national network. By the mid-2010s, it was possible to travel from the icy north of China to the tropical south entirely by high-speed train. The network connected the three major economic powerhouses: the Bohai Economic Rim around Beijing, the Yangtze River Delta around Shanghai, and the Pearl River Delta around Guangzhou and Shenzhen. This created a powerful synergy, allowing for the seamless flow of people, ideas, and capital between these vital regions. The dream of a national grid, laid out in the early plans, was quickly becoming a reality. The scale of the achievement was, and still is, simply staggering. By the end of the 2010s, China's high-speed rail network had exceeded 35,000 kilometers in length, accounting for more than two-thirds of the world's total. The once dominant green trains were relegated to secondary routes, replaced by the gleaming white bullet trains as the primary mode of long-distance travel. This great expansion was more than just an engineering feat. It was a social one. It changed how people thought about distance and time. It brought families closer together, opened up new opportunities for tourism, and fundamentally altered the rhythm of life for hundreds of millions of people. China was no longer a collection of distant provinces, but a tightly woven nation. Among the many new routes, a few stand out as true game changers. These are the main arteries of the network, the dragon spine that forms the core of China's high-speed rail system. Perhaps the most famous of these is the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railway. Opened in 2011, this 1,318-kilometer line connects the country's political capital with its financial center. Before this line, the journey by train was a long overnight slog. Suddenly, it was reduced to just 4.5 hours. This was a monumental shift. It made day trips between the two most important cities in China not just possible, but practical. The Beijing-Shanghai line is one of the busiest and most profitable high-speed lines in the world. It carries tens of millions of passengers every year, from business executives closing deals to tourists exploring the country's cultural landmarks. The convenience it offers is incredible. You can have a breakfast meeting in Beijing, hop on a train, and be in Shanghai in time for a late lunch. It competes directly with airlines and often wins, especially when you factor in the time spent traveling to and from airports and going through security. The stations are located in the city centers, making the whole journey incredibly efficient from door to door. Another colossal achievement is the Beijing-Guangzhou high-speed railway. At nearly 2,300 kilometers, it was the world's longest high-speed line when it fully opened in 2012. This route is a journey through the heart of China, connecting the north with the deep south. It slices through multiple provinces and climates, from the temperate plains around Beijing to the subtropical landscape of Guangdong. What was once a grueling 24-hour-plus train ride became a swift 8-hour journey. This line has been instrumental in bridging the economic and cultural gap between the north and the south, fostering greater national integration. These major lines, along with the east-west routes, like the one connecting Shanghai with Chengdu, form the backbone of the entire system. They are the superhighways of the rail network, handling huge volumes of traffic and demonstrating the incredible capability of the system. They are feats of engineering that required conquering immense distances and complex terrain. Building these lines involved constructing some of the longest bridges and tunnels in the world. They are a powerful symbol of China's ability to execute projects on a scale that is almost unimaginable anywhere else, solidifying the bullet train's place as a pillar of modern Chinese life. After years of learning and adapting foreign technology, China was ready to unveil its masterpiece. This came in the form of the Fuxinghao, or Rejuvenation series of trains. Launched in 2017, the Fuxing trains are a massive source of national pride because they are completely designed and manufactured in China, with full intellectual property rights. They represent the culmination of the country's high-speed rail journey, moving from student to master. These trains are not just a little bit better than the previous CRH series, they are a significant leap forward in every respect: speed, comfort, efficiency, and safety. The Fuxing trains are designed to be the best in the world. They are sleeker and more aerodynamic, which helps them run more efficiently at high speeds. On the inside, they offer a superior passenger experience. The ride is noticeably smoother and quieter, there's more legroom, and amenities like free Wi-Fi and power outlets at every seat are standard. They also have a more advanced monitoring system, with thousands of sensors constantly checking the train's performance to ensure everything is running perfectly. The Fuxing trains were designed to run at a standard speed of 350 km per hour, and on lines like the Beijing-Shanghai route, they do just that, reaffirming China's position at the top of the high-speed league. Safety has always been a top priority, and the Fuxing series incorporates the most advanced safety systems available. The trains are equipped with a sophisticated automatic train protection system that constantly monitors the train's speed and location. If the train exceeds the speed limit or gets too close to another train, the system can automatically apply the brakes to prevent an accident. The entire network, including the tracks, signals, and power lines, is integrated into a central control system that oversees all traffic, ensuring that the thousands of trains running each day do so safely and on time. The name Fuxing itself is significant. It ties the trains directly to the national goal of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. They are more than just a piece of transport technology. They are a rolling symbol of China's success and its future ambitions. The development of the Fuxing series has also turned China into a major exporter of high-speed rail technology. Countries around the world are now looking to China for help in building their own networks. The Fuxing trains are the ultimate expression of China's high-speed rail dream, a testament to what can be achieved through long-term vision and relentless innovation. The impact of China's bullet trains goes far beyond just faster travel times. They have fundamentally changed the way people live, work, and play, reshaping the social and economic fabric of the nation. For business travelers, the high-speed network has created a same-day travel culture. It's now common for someone to travel hundreds of kilometers for a meeting and return home the same evening, something that was unthinkable just a decade ago. This has boosted productivity and fostered closer business ties between cities, effectively creating mega-regions where commerce flows freely. The train has become a mobile office for many. Tourism has also been completely transformed. The bullet trains have made it incredibly easy and affordable for people to explore their own country. Famous historical sites, beautiful natural landscapes, and vibrant cultural centers are now just a short train ride away. This has led to a massive boom in domestic tourism, with millions of people using the holidays to travel and discover new places. It has also helped to spread tourist spending to smaller inland cities that were previously difficult to reach, creating new jobs and opportunities in areas that needed them most. The trains have opened up the whole of China to its own people. On a more personal level, the high-speed rail network has brought families closer together. In a country where many people move away from their hometowns for work or education, the bullet trains make it much easier to visit relatives. A journey that once required taking a day or two off work can now be done over a weekend. This has strengthened family bonds and made it easier for people to maintain connections with their roots. During major holidays like the Spring Festival, the bullet trains have eased the immense pressure of the world's largest annual human migration, offering a faster and more comfortable way to get home. Looking to the future, the expansion continues. The network is still growing, pushing further into the remote western regions of China, connecting cities like Lhasa in Tibet and Urumqi in Xinjiang. The vision is to make high-speed rail accessible to even more people, further integrating the entire country. The bullet trains have become an indispensable part of modern Chinese life. They are a symbol of the China speed, a demonstration of the country's ability to achieve the extraordinary. They are not just trains, they are the arteries of a new China, carrying the nation and its people forward into the future at breathtaking speed.